We finally got some news about the future of Robert Pattinson's Batman and the Batman Part 2, and if it's going to take place in James Gunn's new DCU with movies like Superman, or if it's going to stay as a standalone franchise. And this info comes from both the director of the Batman, Matt Reeves, and the director of the James Gunn DCU Batman movie, Andy Muschietti, so we got to talk about all of this. But first, I have to go back in time a little bit and just catch you up on all the drama surrounding the Batman Part 2 and how these rumors even started of, hey, is Robert Pattinson maybe going to be joining the new DCU? Because if you go back to a year ago, we first found out that the Batman was being delayed from October 2025 to October 2026 instead. And it seemed like things were finally going smoothly, but we're going to get it next year in 2026. Even a month ago, Matt Reeves said, hey, the script is finished, it's going to start filming next year. Now, he said this a month ago in 2024, so next year is this year, 2025, and he actually has reiterated that, yeah, the film is going to still start filming this year. But as you probably know, the film has actually been delayed to not release until 2027 now, so there's something up here which started all these rumors of, hey, maybe changes are being made to work this into the new DCU somehow. And since Matt Reeves hasn't been a part of any new movies coming out in the press runs, for those who really haven't seen him in public, to get interviews until the Golden Globes, where he was on the red carpet and he got interviewed by Josh Howard. Shout out to him for asking these questions about the potential of Robert Pattinson's Batman joining the DCU. Just watch this clip and see what he says.
I spoke to James Gunn recently and I asked him, obviously he talked about, letting you do your Reeves verse on his own. And I did ask him, have you contemplated recently integrating Rob into the DCU? And he said, they've talked about it because you talk about everything.
Sure, yeah.
What's your attitude about that at this point?
I mean, it really comes down to whether or not it makes sense. And, I think what's been great is there was really a kind of a story that I wanted to tell, we're calling the epic crime saga and all of that, which is the thrust of what we wanted to do. And it's been important to me to be able to play that out. Yeah. And, James and Peter have been really, really great about that, and they're letting us do that. And, what the future brings, I can't really tell you. I have no idea right now, except that my head is down now about getting the Batman Part 2 shooting and to make it something really, really special, which of course is the most important thing.
And if they decide, we really want Rob to be our DCU Batman?
I don't know. We'll have to see where that goes.
Fair enough. I won't put you on the spot anymore. Congrats.
Now, this is an incredibly non-committal answer. Obviously, he's just saying we kind of got to see where the future goes, but it being non-committal is kind of weird in my opinion, because if it wasn't happening for sure, or if these discussions weren't happening, he would probably just say, no, the Batman's going to be its own thing, which is what James Gunn has said in the past. So why is Matt Reeves giving a more open-ended answer about maybe this Batman can end up in the DCU, where we just have to see where things go? And shout out to Josh again, he got some really great info out of him, even in these kind of non-committal answers, because he also got him to talk about the potential villain of the Batman Part 2, and Matt Reeves, when talking about all the rumors he sees online, he says you just look at them and casually go like, oh, that's what they think now, interesting, saying that it's probably not going to be one of the commonly rumored characters, like a Mr. Freeze, a Hush, people like that. Now, outside of like Mr. Freeze, all of the rumored popular villain choices for the Batman Part 2 have been very grounded villains, because obviously it seems like this version of Gotham City is incredibly grounded and more realistic, so that would make sense. If the villain's going to be really surprising, it's almost making me think it could be joining in with the DCU, or the film could just be getting a little bit more supernatural. Listen, I still think the best choice is to keep the Batman completely separate from the new DCU, but I do actually think there is a potential avenue to make this actually make sense. The Batman obviously takes place very early on in Batman's career, and they could easily explain it as like, oh, this is what happened like 10 years ago, right at the start of the Batman's career, and we really didn't have a lot of these other superheroes as prevalent, but in those 10 years, characters like Superman and all these different creature commandos that are running around all became very rampant in this universe. Like, Robert Pattinson's literally like 15 years older than the version of Bruce Wayne that he's playing anyways in the movie, so they could easily age him up in a Batman Part 2 or 3 and say, hey, now this is in the present day and he's in this new DCU with all these other superheroes. And I know when you watch the first Batman movie or the Penguin, it still doesn't seem plausible that this is in a bigger universe, but that's kind of the beauty of Batman and Gotham City versus like Superman and Metropolis. They don't feel like they should coexist in the same universe, but yet they do, and that's kind of what makes it so interesting, and the dynamic between them finally teaming up actually work. So while I still personally think I would prefer the Batman and James Gunn's new DCU to stay separate, I actually can see an avenue where it could end up working. But the plot does thicken, because if you remember, I said at the beginning of the video, the director of the new Batman the Brave and the Bold movie that is still going through as of right now, but obviously if Robert Pattinson transitions into the DCU, this would probably just get scrapped. But this director, Andy Muschietti, actually came out and said something in regards to all this talk. He literally came out and just straight up said the Batman of Matt Reeves is obvious he's not from the new universe, which yeah, is very true. If you watch the Batman, it was clearly created before the new DCU. He wasn't created with the intention of being in the new DCU, but that was also true of things like Peacemaker that we know are coming over the new DCU, and Creature Commandos was actually made before the DCU, but he still worked it into it. This could be a real does he know situation where like, yeah, he maybe thinks like, yeah, I'm going ahead and making my own version of Batman, but James Gunn might be cooking behind the scenes, because I think what the realistic answer is for this is that James Gunn is the person who said we're moving the Batman Part 2 to 2027. You can start filming it this year in 2025, have plenty of time to work on the entire filming, editing of the film and everything. And the reason he wants it pushed back is to see how the movies both Superman and Supergirl, the first two DCU films, perform at the box office. If those two movies, especially Superman, the one to kick it all off, actually perform super well, it crosses like between 800 million or over $1 billion, and it seems like there's so much interest in this new universe, I think he's going to keep the Batman separate as an Elseworld story and just build up a new Batman in this DCU, because it seems like audiences are receptive to this brand new universe that he's cooking. If the first Superman movie doesn't do well at the box office, it's very likely that Supergirl is going to do even worse at the box office. Then I think he'll have the Batman Part 2 as like the lifeline and say, hey, this is a part of the new universe, please care about it. Maybe there would be like a Superman crossover in the post-credit scene of the Batman Part 2 or something to connect the universes there, but I think he wants to push the movie back to give it time to see what's happening with the new DC universe, if it's getting scrapped, if it needs to be saved by the Batman, or what's going to happen with it. But I would really love to know your thoughts on this. Do you think the Batman and Robert Pattinson should merge with the new DCU and team up with characters like Superman and that Justice League, or should they cast a new person, have their own Batman, and keep Robert Pattinson's as his own standalone story? And also, thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. This is the first video I'm making after hitting that milestone, which is absolutely insane. A year ago, I literally had 5,000. The growth has been insane. I'm so thankful for everybody that's been here on any step of the journey, whether you've been here for a long time or just joined. I really appreciate it if you tapped above me and checked out my video going over will these movies in 2025 and 2026 flop or succeed at the box office.